The junior high-level preliminaries begin, and all the participants prepare for their competition. The first event is the junior girls running competition. Cha-haen dashes forward with incredible speed and great determination and finishes first in the preliminary round with a slight margin. After the race, Cha-haen goes outside and sits down to check on her ankle injury. She worries if she can continue with the rest of the events and feels frustrated that the injury happened at such an important time. Suddenly, a voice speaks and asks if she plans to keep running despite her injury. Cha-haen looks up and sees Jinwoo, and she realizes he is a student of track and field. Jinwoo warns her that if she keeps running on a damaged ankle, she might end up spending an entire year just to heal the injury. He explains that she might lose her ability to run well and could regret her decision for the rest of her life. He mentions that this happened to someone he knows, referring to Cha-haen herself, but in the past timeline, Cha-haen notices that Jinwoo smells really nice and thanks him for his concerns. Suddenly, Jinwoo reaches for her leg, and Cha-haen starts blushing as he touches her ankle. She notices that her injury is healing. Jinwoo explains that she has only one chance and encourages her to do her best and run as fast as possible. As Jinwoo starts to leave, Cha-haen asks him to wait and questions if they have met somewhere before. Jinwoo feels happy hearing this and offers to answer her questions if she can run faster than him. Cha-haen asks if he is in high school and mentions that she knows he won first place in his preliminary events. Jinwoo challenges her by asking if she really plans to give up without trying. Cha-haen bets with him that he must answer her questions if she beats his record, even if it takes her a few years. Jinwoo understands that Cha-haen is still as innocent as ever and accepts her bet. Time passes, and Jinwoo continues his running practice and plays games with his friends. He meets with Cha-haen from time to time and later begins preparing for his college entrance exams. Igris helps him study for the exams. After completing his college entrance exam, Jinwoo receives a call for a date. He gets ready to meet his date, but notices that he did not dress properly and regrets not putting more effort into his appearance. Jinwoo spots a good outfit and decides to use his shadow to change into it. He asks his shadows for their opinion on the outfit, and Tusk comments that it looks gallant, that represents his bravery. Jinwoo senses Cha-haen nearby, but decides to count to 3 before turning around. Before Cha-haen can call out to him, Jinwoo looks back, which startles her. Cha-haen wonders if Jinwoo has eyes on the back of his head. Cha-haen congratulates Jinwoo on his exams and asks if he is still planning to attend the university he chose earlier. She questions why he is going to a low-tier university, despite having good grades. Jinwoo explains that the university offered him a full scholarship along with the opportunity to study abroad. He adds that there is someone he really wants to meet. Cha-haen becomes furious and jealous, thinking it might be a woman. Jinwoo refuses to answer and says it is a secret. Cha-haen feels upset that Jinwoo did not answer her and decides to place a bet. She asks if Jinwoo remembers his promise to tell her everything if she manages to run faster than him. She suggests they race to a nearby tree. Jinwoo asks what she wants to know, and Cha-haen responds that she wants to know everything, including what he always thinks about and the person he wants to meet at the university, and whether it is a man or a woman. She also wants to know if they ever met before the field and track competition. Jinwoo is surprised that Cha-haen is still focused on the same question and agrees to answer her if she wins the race. To Jinwoo's surprise, Cha-haen requests him to stay in the same spot if he likes her, and then runs toward the tree. The shadows realize that Jinwoo will lose the bet, and Tusk remarks that Jinwoo should not have agreed to her challenge. Beru suggests that Jinwoo can still win if he runs now. Jinwoo remembers every past encounter with Cha-haen, including their first meeting when he worked as a miner, and how she expressed her feelings to him, and how she saw him as a friend in the double dungeon. He recalls his promise to meet her again. Cha-haen reaches the tree and wins the bet. Jinwoo slowly steps toward her and commands his shadows to close their eyes. He hugs her for the first time as a way to express his feelings for her. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the world of eternal slumber, where all of Jinwoo's shadows rest. The new shadows that Jinwoo extracted from the monarchs greet Tusk. Tusk is about to say good morning, but remembers that there is no such thing as day or night in the world of shadows. Beru approaches Tusk and hands him a robe. Tusk notices that the robe looks exactly like the one Jinwoo wears. He starts crying as he holds it, and one of the High Orc shadows also begins to cry. Tusk feels overwhelmed with happiness that Beru gave him such a thoughtful gift. Beru knows that Tusk always wants to look more like Jinwoo and believes the robe is the perfect gift for him. Tusk absolutely loves the robe and remarks that he is so tempted by it that he wants to make all the mage shadows wear it as a uniform. Beru suggests attaching the Orb of Avarice to a cane so Tusk can carry it around more easily. Tusk loves the idea and requests the bearded dwarves to craft a cane for him, as they are the greatest craftsmen in the world. The bearded dwarves accept his request and express their happiness at having the opportunity to work with holy materials bestowed upon them by the king. The eternal slumber area is vast and almost limitless. It is home to all the shadows and has been divided into various zones. This is where the architect architect designed the player's job change quest and built the demon castle based on Ashbourne's memories. All the Shadow's minds are deeply connected to Jinwoo's mind. Even though the Shadows once lived only for destruction, they are now slowly growing more like humans and are beginning to experience various human emotions. Their hearts, which were once empty, now feel refreshed in the Shadow world. The Shadows follow a daily routine where they train, attend classes, chat, and argue, just like humans. They are forming unique personalities and leading different lives. The bearded dwarf finally finishes the cane for Tusk, and it looks magnificent alongside his robe. Tusk praises the dwarf for his excellent fashion sense, and the High Orcs admire Tusk's new look. Suddenly, all the Titan's Shadows arrive at the palace, and Tusk asks what they are doing in his castle. They explain that Bellion sent them. Tusk notices a few mages among the new Shadows and feels it is a waste of their physical strength to only use magic spells, though he is aware that he does the same thing. Tusk begins boasting about himself and how he played a crucial role in his first fight against the Dragon King. Suddenly, Igris approaches them and demands to know why they are wasting time. Tusk, not realizing that it is Igris speaking, begins to talk back, but stops when he turns around and sees Igris. He expresses his admiration for Igris and explains that he was simply sharing their achievements with the new Shadows. Igris acknowledges Tusk's loyalty to their king and states that it is time to gather all the Shadows of general rank and higher ranks to support their king. They look outside the window, and Tusk sees the reunion of Jinwoo and Cha-Hain. All the Shadows begin celebrating the reunion of their king and queen. Igris starts recounting the story of how he first met his king. He recalls encountering Jinwoo inside the space created by Ashbourne, where his task was to test Jinwoo to determine if he was a suitable vessel for the Shadow Monarch. Igris remembers that this was Ashbourne's final order to him, and giving an order to him is his way of bidding farewell. After Ashbourne forgave the rulers, he lost interest in the war, but suddenly became interested in Jinwoo. Igris was initially confused about why Ashbourne chose Jinwoo, but trusted that his king had a good reason. As Ashbourne's command was absolute, Igris did not question his intentions and agreed to carry out the order. With most of his powers sealed, Igris stood alone in the space where he was to test Jinwoo's abilities. He looked around and wondered if humans referred to the dimensional space as dungeons. He noticed how he had been transformed back to his original form before meeting Ashbourne. He admired how the architect used Ashbourne's power to recreate everything so perfectly, even down to the sensations he felt back then. Igris stepped closer to the empty throne and realized that the high level of detail was shaping Jinwoo's body into the perfect vessel for Ashbourne. He suddenly sensed Jinwoo's presence outside the door and prepared for their battle. Out of nowhere, Igris felt that he might be acting arrogant and grew nervous, thinking that sitting on the throne might be disrespectful to his future king. He is aware that his role was to test the abilities of Ashbourne's vessel and realizes that it would be inappropriate to sit on the throne. Instead, he chose to hide behind a pillar. When Jinwoo entered the dungeon, Igris saw Ashbourne's chosen vessel for the first time. Determined not to take the fight lightly, Igris resolved to kill Jinwoo if he proved unworthy of being Ashbourne's vessel. Igris began the battle to test if Jinwoo was worthy of the throne. However, the result was disappointing, as Jinwoo lacked the skill or talent to wield Ashbourne's power. Jinwoo struggled to even overpower the weaker version of Igris and barely managed to dodge his attacks. Unexpectedly, Jinwoo decided to fight with his bare hands. Igris admitted that Jinwoo was brave despite being human. Impressed by Jinwoo's determination, Igris also threw away his sword and fought with his bare hands. He admired Jinwoo's resolve to fight an overpowered enemy. Igris dashed at Jinwoo and slammed him into the wall. Feeling disappointed again, Igris wanted Jinwoo to give up and declared that he was unworthy of the throne. He decided to give Jinwoo an honorable death by beheading him. Igris felt relieved that Ashbourne could remain the monarch a little longer, since the human was not worthy of inheriting his powers. As Igris struck to behead Jinwoo, he was shocked when Jinwoo stopped the attack with a single hand. Surprised by Jinwoo's refusal to give up even in his final moments, Igris hesitated. Jinwoo stabbed Igris in the eye, leaving him in disbelief that he was losing to a weaker human. As he looked into Jinwoo's eyes, Igris noticed a resemblance to Ashbourne's eyes. He wondered if Jinwoo's victory was due to his own carelessness or a miracle that is created out of Jinwoo's unwavering determination. Igris is unsure whether to feel happy that Ashbourne's choice was perfect or sad that he could no longer serve Ashbourne. After becoming Jinwoo's shadow, Igris saw how kind Jinwoo was to him and felt grateful for his master's kindness. Jinwoo became his master friend and colleague, and they fought countless battles together. Over time, Igris's loyalty to Jinwoo grew deeper. He noticed that he missed Ashbourne less with each passing day. When Ashbourne's original army of shadows returned from the dimensional rift and joined them, Jinwoo's power increased even more. Igris finally reunited with his old brother-in-arms Bellion. However, the joy was short-lived, and later Bellion was also influenced by Igris's loyalty to Jinwoo. After the castle was built, Bellion decided to place a black flag on top of the building. Beru noticed the flag and asked if it was for their king. Igris recalled how he enjoyed seeing Beru lose to to Belian and was surprised by Jinwoo's reaction to the flag when he made Beru bow his head to the ground. Soon, all the shadows used their determination to serve their king and fought against the monarchs. Jinwoo continued to grow stronger, and the shadows grew stronger alongside him. Even after using the Cup of Reincarnation, the shadows fought the monarchs for almost 30 years. While fighting Antares' dragon army, one of the dragons mocked Igris for obeying a mere human's orders. Despite this, Igris felt honored to serve his new king and never thought of Ashbourne again. Over the years, Ashbourne slowly faded from his thoughts. Igris remembered Jinwoo's words that forgetting memories is a gift from the gods. Even though Greed and Iron began living normal human lives in the new timeline, Igris remained by Jinwoo's side. He realized that his feelings for Ashbourne had been transferred to Jinwoo. Igris is aware that he is one of the two wings leading the Shadow Army and saw himself as both a knight and his master's sword. He knew that only he could assist Jinwoo in his studies, as Beru and Belian were not suited for the task. Igris became better equipped to help Jinwoo with his studies as he graduated from the Knights Academy with excellent grades. Igris realized he had given a wrong answer to one of the questions. He became agitated and resolved to focus more on his studies. Meanwhile, after Jinwoo uses the Cup of Reincarnation on the same day, Sung Ilhwan regains all the memories of his past timeline. He meets with the ruler's vessel and asks what his son has decided whether to stay on Earth or move to another world. The ruler's vessel informs him that the Shadow Monarch has chosen to stay on Earth because every moment he spends with his family is precious. He questions if Sung Ilhwan will continue to hide the truth about regaining his memories. Sung Ilhwan responds that he will keep it hidden as his son does not want anyone to remember the past. The ruler's vessel realizes that Jinwoo is just like his father. He reveals that this will be his last visit to Earth and that he will not return again. The ruler's vessel explains that meeting the Shadow Monarch after his return from the dimensional rift was an exciting and unique experience. He adds that the rulers are deeply grateful to both the Shadow Monarch and Sung Ilhwan. He asks if there's anything he can do for him. Sung Ilhwan requests the ruler's vessel to erase his memories of the past timeline. The ruler's vessel questions why he would want to do such a thing. Sung Ilhwan explains that it is challenging to pretend not to remember anything around his son, and that Jinwoo is very perceptive about such matters. He further mentions that he just wants to live as a normal father who worries about his son, and that to him, Jinwoo is his precious son, not the Shadow Monarch. The ruler's vessel agrees and uses his magic to erase Sung Ilhwan's memories. He explains that the memories will be erased once he leaves the cafe and wishes him a peaceful life. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the freshman welcoming party, where Jinho feels nervous as it is his first time attending such an event. He loses his appetite and wonders why the frozen pork belly restaurant feels so familiar to him, even though never visited the place before. His senior approaches him and asks if he is feeling nervous. Jinho nervously denies it, and the senior encourages him to relax and not be so formal around him. However, he warns Jinho to be careful of a particular upperclassman in their department who is a little intimidating. He explains that while Jinwoo does not intentionally intimidate his juniors, his mere presence is daunting even when he is just standing nearby. Jinho starts sweating upon hearing this, but thinks that Jinwoo might not be as bad as his father. The senior asks if he knows the new track star who recently became famous and informs him that Chahain is Jinwoo's girlfriend. Suddenly, Jinwoo arrives at the party and everyone starts bowing their heads to him. The senior wonders why no one is coming to his table and decides to talk to other freshmen. Out of nowhere, Jinwoo sits with them, startling both the senior and Jinho. The senior notices Jinwoo and worries why he chose to sit with them when there are many other empty spots. He excuses himself to check on the other upperclassmen. Jinho cannot stop shaking nervously. Jinwoo gives him a drink, and Jinho assumes it is alcohol mixed with water for his first drink. He realizes that Jinwoo is intimidating, but also delicate in his approach. Jinho drinks it and discovers that it is just soda. Jinwoo explains that Jinho is a lightweight and should avoid alcohol and offers him soda instead. Jinwoo asks why Jinho is so nervous around him and urges him to relax and speak normally. He questions if Jinho wants him to leave, and Jinho nervously shouts that he does not. Jinho suddenly notices that calling Jinwoo sir feels natural to him and wonders if he ever told Jinwoo his name. Eventually, Jinho relaxes around Jinwoo. After a few days, Jinwoo receives a call from Jinho, who questions why he is not joining the study group. Jinwoo explains that he has something important to do and requests Jinho to sit in for him during his afternoon class. Jinho nervously mentions that all the professors know Jinwoo and will notice his absence. He asks where Jinwoo is going. Jinwoo reveals that he is heading to the university hospital. Jinho asks why he is going to the medical department since their major has nothing to do with it. Jinwoo does not answer his question and ends the conversation by saying that he is counting on Jinho. Meanwhile, Lee Joo-hee worries that her Busan accent might be too thick for the university she got accepted into and that she needs to learn some English terms for her nursing degree. She encounters Jinwoo and suddenly feels reveals that she knows him from somewhere. She asks if they have met before. Jinwoo feels happy to see Lee Juhee again, but says no to her question. Juhee tries to recall her memories, but suddenly remembers that she has to get to her university and starts running. She worries that Jinwoo might think she was trying to flirt with him. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to a hospital where Chairman Go requests the doctor to help him sit up. The doctor notices the elixir of life by his side and asks if Chairman Go knows what it is. Chairman Go explains that a young boy dropped it off a few moments ago. He finds it strange how Jinwoo managed to get inside without anyone noticing, despite the bodyguards outside. Chairman Go is still surprised by Jinwoo's explanation that he fought alongside him against monsters in a timeline that no longer exists and left the bottle as a token of thanks. Chairman Go laughs and remarks that he will be completely cured of his illness if he drinks the elixir of life. The doctor questions if Chairman Go actually believes him. Chairman Go reveals that he is tired of fighting the disease and that it does not matter if Jinwoo is telling the truth or not. He asks the doctor how long he would live with his current condition. The doctor remains silent, unable to answer. Chairman Go makes a final request to have it written on his tombstone that he bravely fought the illness until the end. Chairman Go opens the elixir of life, drinks it, and decides to rest. The doctor leaves and requests Chairman Go to call him if there are any problems. Chairman Go looks outside at the beautiful sky and suddenly feels a pain in his chest. After a while, his illness is completely cured. Chairman Go admits that the sun feels so warm and realizes that Jinwoo was telling the truth about the elixir of life. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the story of the Dragon King Antares. He is the first and strongest monarch born from darkness, and is not only the king of all dragons, but also a symbol of fear and destruction. Those who know him call him the Dragon King with utmost respect. One day, while hiding in the dimensional rift, he prepares to invade Earth with his 10 million shadows. But when he opens his eyes, he finds himself in Jinwoo's body. He feels confused and notices that Jinwoo's body is too weak. He gets frustrated that he has been given the weakest vessel. Suddenly, all the memories of the vessel flow through his mind. He learns that the vessel's name is Sung Jinwoo, and that he is an E-rank hunter from Korea. He is surprised that Jinwoo awakened as a hunter despite being so weak, and understands that Jinwoo has come close to death many times. Antares wonders why Jinwoo did not give up on being a hunter, and guesses it might be because of his mother's illness. He remarks that he could have easily healed her with his magic. Suddenly, Jinwoo receives a call. When he answers it, the caller shouts that it is almost time for their raid and asks if he is going to be late again. Antares becomes furious that a mere human is commanding him and feels insulted by the caller's tone. He boldly asks for her location. The caller informs him that they are waiting in front of the gate and questions why Jinwoo is speaking so rudely. Antares focuses and locates her. The caller becomes confused by Jinwoo's strange behavior and hangs up. Suddenly, Antares appears behind her and in a commanding tone asks if he is late. The woman nervously responds that he is not late. Kim calls out to him and asks if he has eaten anything before the raid. Antares assumes Kim is his subordinate and requests coffee from cafe server. When he mentions they are out of coffee, Antares snatches the cup from him, drinks it, and crushes it. He laughs sinisterly and remarks that the strong always take from the weak, which is how monarchs operate. Kim notices that Jinwoo is acting strangely and mentions that he is getting chills. His friend agrees and adds that Jinwoo's eyes look terrifying. Suddenly, Lee Juhee shouts at Antares and questions what happened to his face. Antares wonders why humans are so noisy. Song Cheol gathers the group and asks for their opinion about him being the party leader. Kim approves since he is the highest ranker among them, and the rest agree. Antares senses a strange power coming from inside the gate and realizes it feels like a monarch's energy, even though gates are created by rulers. He expresses his willingness to enter the gate, and Song Cheol agrees. Kim mockingly tells Jinwoo to stand behind him to avoid getting hurt. Antares interprets this as loyalty and assumes Kim cares about his safety despite being weak. They enter the gate, and Antares begins slicing through the magic beasts in seconds. Both Song Cheol and Kim start sweating as they witness Jinwoo's rampage. They assume the beasts are too weak, but notice they cannot even follow his movements. Antares clears all the beasts and suggests continuing to the double dungeon. Song Cheol proposes voting on whether to proceed, but Antares strikes him down. The rest of the party is shocked that the highest-ranking member was knocked out so casually. They continue into the dungeon, walking for 40 minutes. One member explains that they should leave in 20 minutes since the boss is already defeated. They reach the end of the dungeon and find a door. One member senses danger, and Antares notices everyone is nervous. Antares opens the door and throws him inside the double dungeon. He assures them nothing will happen and orders them to move forward. Suddenly, the torches light up, and one member remarks that he has never seen anything like this before. He suggests splitting up to look around. They assume the massive statue of God is the dungeon boss, but Antares corrects them and points to the statue holding the commandment slab and mentions that the statue is the boss. Realizing no one can read, Antares begins reading the 3 commandments. Lee Juhee grabs him and warns that the statue of God is moving. Antares gets angry angry at her, pulls his hand away, and continues reading. The first commandment is to worship the god. The second is to praise the god. And the third is to prove their faith. Those who disobey will not be spared. Suddenly, the statue of God attacks with an energy beam. Antares charges at the statue with a sinister smile, mocking its weak attack. The beam hits Antares and everyone is shocked by its strength. However, Antares stops the attack and counters with a breath of destruction. The breath completely destroys the statue of God. Everyone is stunned by Jinwoo's breath attack. The remaining statues charge at them, but Antares destroys them all with his breath. The party members begin leaving the dungeon. One hunter asks if there's another way to deal with the statues, while another wonders if the commandments meant nothing. Antares destroys every statue in seconds and remarks that the battle does not even feel like a warm-up. The architect becomes furious that his plan has failed and breaks the stone slab. Antares throws a weapon at him, destroying him completely. Antares declares that he is not interested in the fake statue and wants to face the one pulling the strings. He challenges the Shadow Monarch to a fight. Ashbourne notices Antares residing inside Jinwoo and decides to end their ill-fated relationship once and for all. Antares becomes excited to fight the Shadow Monarch and charges at him. Suddenly, Jinwoo wakes up from his sleep and realizes it was all a dream. His shadows appear worried and come out to check on him. Meanwhile, after a few years, the scene shifts to a police station where Lee Se-won has just joined the police department. Ever since he started working as a police officer, he has been hearing a rumor that continues even after he applies to the crime department. The rumor is about a violent police officer in the criminal division nicknamed the Ghost. The officer is called the Ghost because he not only catches the culprits of his own cases, but also solves other unsolved cases with an arrest rate of 200%. The officer has already become a legend among policemen, and even the most dangerous criminals turn into lambs before him. Officer Lee also hears that the Ghost refused a promotion so he could continue working in the field, and doubts that anyone would turn down a promotion. Suddenly, a senior officer approaches him and notices that the rookie is nervous. The senior officer reassures him that there is no need to be so tense and offers him a coffee. Officer Lee mentions that he will be working with Officer Sung, and the senior officer informs him that Jinwoo is actually the Ghost. Officer Lee is startled by this revelation. The senior officer explains that Jinwoo is hard to track down, which is why they gave him the nickname the Ghost. Eventually, other police stations started calling him that as well. Officer Lee admits that he has heard about the Ghost, and the senior officer informs him that the coffee he just gave is for Jinwoo. Suddenly, Jinwoo arrives at the station and asks if the new guy is the rookie. The senior officer introduces the rookie and asks if Jinwoo is heading out to work. Jinwoo grabs the rookie and decides to teach him new things. Officer Lee notices that Jinwoo seems angry and wonders if it is because he took his coffee. Nervously, he asks where they are headed. Jinwoo questions his reason for becoming a police officer. Officer Lee responds that he wanted to catch criminals, and Jinwoo informs him that they are going to do just that. He adds that he became a police officer for the same reason. As they head out, Officer Lee is still in disbelief that he is learning how to catch criminals from the Ghost himself. After a few days, Officer Lee arrives at the station looking pale because he spent the entire day catching criminals with Jinwoo. Jinwoo feels proud that his rookie caught an armed robber with his bare hands and mentions how much fun he had teaching him. As Jinwoo works on filing a report, Igris offers to handle the paperwork for him. Suddenly, Jinwoo notices an argument between an officer and a girl. The girl insists that Jinwoo would never commit suicide, while the officer explains that the evidence suggests otherwise. The girl shows the last text message she received from the victim and questions if it looks like something a suicidal person would send 3 hours before taking their own life. The officer remains unconvinced and explains that most suicides are spontaneous. Jinwoo approaches them and requests to see the evidence. The officer asks Jinwoo not to complicate the case further. Jinwoo examines the evidence and notes that while the victim appears bright on the outside, she has a history of depression. He mentions that nothing seems odd about the case, but decides to investigate further. The officer feels frustrated that Jinwoo has taken over his case again. Jinwoo requests the girl to come to his office to discuss the case further. Meanwhile, Jinwoo uses his shadow exchange skill to appear at the victim's apartment. He looks around and goes to the bathtub where she committed suicide. Using the blood, he raises a shadow from the traces of her body. Jinil is shocked to be back, and Jinwoo reassures her not to be afraid. He explains that she has escaped the cycle of life and pain and asks if she took her own life. Jinil admits that she did and explains her reasons. Later, Jinwoo visits the victim's father and requests a few moments of his time to talk about his daughter. The father runs toward Jinwoo nervously, asking if the police have found anything new about his daughter's death. Jinwoo informs him that nothing new has been discovered and that he just wants to ask a few questions. The father expresses his willingness to help with the investigation, and they go to a cafe. Jinwoo begins by asking what kind of student Jinil was. The father does not understand the question, so Jinwoo asks if there was anyone who might have resented her at school. The father responds that Jinwoo was a kind and innocent child who would never have done anything to make someone dislike her. He starts crying and expresses disbelief over her death, even though he is not her biological father. He mentions that he treated her like his own daughter and wishes she had talked to him about her depression. Jinwoo shows a recording he found among Jinwoo's belongings, and the father suddenly stops crying. The recording reveals the terrible abuse Jinwoo suffered at the hands of her adoptive father since she was young. She had even run away from him, but he continued to contact her, demanding to see her. The father angrily asks why Jinwoo is showing him the evidence now, and asks why he did not bring other officers to arrest him. Jinwoo gives him two choices. He can admit his crime and surrender to the police, or he can pay the price for what he did. Jinwoo's father smirks, thinking he only needs to pay money to escape punishment, and asks how much Jinwoo wants to look the other way. Jinwoo smirks back, realizing the father has chosen the second option. He explains that they are not on Earth, but in a temporary world created outside reality called the world of eternal slumber. He adds that only he can allow someone to enter or leave this world. Jinwoo's father becomes confused and starts shaking nervously. He looks around and realizes there is no one else except Jinwoo and himself. He starts shouting that this must be a dream and tries to run away. Suddenly, a shadow grabs him, slashes him multiple times, and ends his life. Jinwoo thanks Jinwoo for helping her get her revenge, and Jinwoo asks if there is anything else she needs. Jinwoo politely requests another favor. Later, Jinwoo returns to the police station and gives a gift box to Jinwoo's friend. He explains that her name is written on the box and that Jinwoo might have left it for her as a gift. He further informs her that Jinwoo's death was not a homicide. Jinwoo's friend starts crying, realizing her friend's death was truly a suicide. She thanks Jinwoo for everything he has done, and Jinwoo feels sorry that Jinwoo could not celebrate her friend's birthday. She opens the box and finds a birthday present that Jinwoo had left for her. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to Jinwoo and Jinho, his loyal companion. They head to a restaurant together. Jinho unexpectedly drops a bombshell. With a mix of nervousness and excitement, Jinho reveals that he plans to propose to Jina, Jinwoo's younger sister. Jinwoo is left completely stunned by this revelation, struggling to process the idea that his closest friend has intentions of marrying his sister.